Welcome everybody, and thanks for being here today. This webinar is titled Why My Students Love Smart Music. My name is Giovanna Cruz and I am an Education Services Manager here at MakeMusic. Prior to that, I was a music educator in the classroom. And prior to that, I taught a little bit at college, and then I was in graduate school getting my DMA and master's degrees. I am part of the MakeMusic education team, and here what we do is share feedback and provide communication from customers back to MakeMusic and from MakeMusic to the customer. We also design, build, and deliver training to educators both online and in person, like we're doing today. We present clinics at music educator conventions, and we create videos, webinars, and other resources to help teachers. Throughout today's webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them using the chat window, which you will see at the bottom of your screen. So click on the chat link and send your questions to me, and I will pass them to our presenter. Our presenter today is Ted Scalzo. Ted is a music educator that conducted wind ensembles, jazz and marching bands, instrumental lessons, and also advanced music composition. He had a long and fruitful career in public schools, where he was an advocate of using technology to enhance and improve student and teacher instructional needs. He and his students were featured on the cover of School Band and Orchestra magazine, and the accompanying article outlined how he employed technology both in the classroom and the concert arena. He is now retired from Bayshore Schools and Hofstra University. Today, along with Mr. Scalzo, are two of his former students. One of them is Riana Kane. She's an elementary band teacher in Garden City, New York. She implements different technology platforms in her schools, such as Flipgrid, SmartMusic, Google Classroom, and ClassDojo. Riana has a Bachelor of Science in Music from Hofstra University, and she got her master's at Columbia University. She has served as lead replacement teacher in the Hewlett-Woodmore, Syosset, and Massapequa School District in Long Island, teaching band and some general music in all grade levels. Riana truly enjoys working with children to develop the love of music. His other student who is with us today is Andrew Killeen. Andrew is a band director and trumpet player, originally from Bayshore. He was also one of Ted's students. After high school, he attended the University of Dayton in Dayton, Ohio, where he played trumpet in various ensembles. After graduating in 2014, he returned to New York, where he taught 4th and 5th grade general music and beginning band at PS 72 in the Bronx. He is currently teaching in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Studio Secondary School, and he's helped facilitate the growth of the band program, which is now about double the size than it was when he began. In his free time, Andrew likes to enjoy all that New York City has to offer with his wife and his dog, Finnegan. So without much further ado, here's Ted Scalzo for you.
What I'd like to discuss is why smart music. My initial attraction to it is probably maybe a little bit different than most. What I really was excited about was I witnessed that it had this huge library. And at the time, I was looking for a better transition from marching band into our wind ensemble. And what I noticed was all these really great accompaniments and recordings inside of SmartMusic. So I concocted in my head a way for our students to do listening during the marching season and then select music, and the whole goal of that was for them to listen to really well-rehearsed and performed ensembles, so that when they came to the chair after a marching season, they already had this paradigm, this model of what is good. And that's really what my initial attraction was to smart music. It wasn't as much about the assessment, although I know the assessment part is what's going to be of value to me as a teacher in terms of giving my students the better instruction, knowing what they need what they need worked on, most. But this idea of using smart music in this different way was really not only attractive to me, but I thought it was really attractive to the students as well. So inside of smart music, basically, you've got, in my mind, 3 categories. There's practice tools, there's feedback, and there's guided practice. The practice tools are the tuner, the metronome, and all of the content, whether it's the band literature, choir literature, method books, solos, you name it, exercises. And what was really interesting to me is once I became comfortable with SmartMusic, I started using materials from other groups. I was using vocal exercises. I was using some of the string methods for some sight reading things. So it really enabled me to tailor make my instruction with this huge library of accompaniments and performance pieces. And of course, the feedback part of this is where the students get to see right away whether they've played right notes and rhythms. But the most important part of that feedback, and that's what I'd like to talk about today, and I feel is an important part about the art of using SmartMusic, and that's teaching your students to listen to themselves. Not necessarily be overly concerned whether they got every one of those red note and green note, but to go back and listen. Did it sound good? Did I sound better than I did on the previous take? And then by you creating assignments inside of SmartMusic, where you guide your students' ears in addition to their brains in terms of what they're listening to, how they're listening, and what kinds of activities you're putting them through, you can get some amazing results, in my opinion. So some artful strategies. Let's start talking about, what is an artful strategy? To me, that's anything that goes beyond pushing the buttons. So, we can get the software up, we can make it work, we can press record, we can send out an assignment. But if we don't do some things prior to that, it just becomes almost like a pen and pencil test. And you're not really driving your students, someplace where you want them to get to. So this seems like an obvious one, but the most artful part of using SmartMusic is making sure that you have it open. I have viewed several teachers in my career, both in higher ed and public school, where SmartMusic was either something they just did in the practice room, or it was something that the kids just did at home. But where I've seen people have huge successes when it's modeled in the classroom. So what I mean by that is it's accessible. So you have it open whenever you're doing lessons, when you're doing sectionals, when you're doing your rehearsals, having recording sessions. So basically, anytime that you have FaceTime with your students, SmartMusic should be open. And not necessarily with the idea that you're always going to use SmartMusic, but just so it's there in case you have that teachable moment, and then you can quickly access the content, the material, direct your students' ears in an efficient manner. Because that was my number one rule for all technology, is it had to be efficient, it had to be a positive for a student, and it had to make the experience one of fun and desire, but at the same time, maybe speed up the processes a little bit, because students today are extremely busy. The other part of what we're saying here is, and this is just good teaching pedagogy in general, but the art of using SmartMusic is you got to know your goals. What are the outcomes for your assignments, for the listening, for your skill development, for exploration? So you got to hit the target. All right. We want to elicit deliberate action, whether it be a technical achievement, an artful achievement, expressing something in a different way. We're always looking for ways to shape our students and then bring them to those next levels of performance. The other thing is an early buy-in. So I've also had the opportunity, as a clinician and higher ed consultant now, to go around the country and also see that the teachers who present SmartMusic as this is your homework and you're going to be graded and you must have, and they get dogmatic about it, they don't have as good a buy-in from the students. So my suggestion is whenever you're going to use SmartMusic, especially the first couple of times, is to make it fun, have a non-judgmental experience for the first one. Make that first assignment really easy, something that's attainable. You could make an assignment where they're just listening to pieces, which is what I did do with our wind ensemble. And you can evaluate them for anything. You could just, give them a comment back or a grade for soliciting to you through the comment boxes material that they, give you feedback on. Letting them have and make choices. Here are 2 lines. Which one do you want to do? Here are 3 pieces. Which one of these pieces do you think would work well for our group? Those kinds of things now get the students involved in making the decisions about the path they're going to take, and they get this sense of they're a part of the experience, and they're determining, a little bit of where they go. And then the other thing is developing some kind of assignment where you're rewarding their exploration. Have them go into the method books and look for music that sounds like it's from France. Those kinds of things. The other tool inside of SmartMusic that I feel a lot of teachers forget about is the comment box. I felt as a teacher that listening to their assignments, I was able to tailor my instruction, and I knew quickly what I needed to fix with the students. But where I got the most insight and higher level thinking was when I solicited questions to my students and said to them, the SmartMusic assignment is only worth 10 points, but what I'm really looking to see and hear from you is, what did you think about this piece? How does it make you feel? What emotion do you think the composer is trying to get the audience to feel at this moment? Whatever those higher level observations are that we're looking to get the students to do. When you play, do you really hear that your intonation is good? Really go back and listen. And then have them, give me those comments. You send out an assignment and you say to the students, do 5 takes. Send me the 5th, not the 5th, but send me the best take, and then explain to me why you sent that one. What was better about that? Because now they're self-evaluating. You're directing them into that culture of practice that you want your whole ensemble to have, and you're also now getting them to start to understand what it takes to be a better musician and to foster deliberate practice. I'm not just playing it. I'm playing it with intent. I'm playing it with a goal in mind. So I've already made a reference to this particular assignment, how I first did SmartMusic with the students. And basically what I said to them with a smile was, I'm going to do something for you that I'm not going to let, that none of your teachers will ever let you do. And, just a little pregnant pause there so they all get to digest that fact that, something, oh, this is interesting. And then I proceeded to say, I'm going to let you choose the repertoire we're going to play for our spring evaluation concert. That's something that's never been done here at Bayshore, and I'm really going to trust that you're going to make some intelligent decisions. Now, I did set up criteria. The first time I did this, I think it was 32 pieces. I had them all listened to, and they were from our NISMA level 6 list that we were shooting towards. So the pieces that I had listed for them were all pieces that I would have done anyway with them. There was no problem there. And then I said to him, okay, you got to listen to all 36. Then you have to, in the comments box, justify your choice. And one more thing, they can't be similar. They have to be in a contrasting style. So that was a very long-term assignment. And instead of talking any more about it, what I'd like is for maybe Riana to jump in and talk as a student how it felt to her to have that experience. And then right after her, let's let Andy talk.
Sure. So being able to have that say in the repertoire really made me feel part of something bigger than just myself. Obviously, being in an instrumental ensemble or any ensemble gives you that sense of community, but being given that ownership yourself, it really created that mentality of that I'm a musician. It's not just oh, I play this instrument. You have to think about all of these things, not just can I play this, but can we play this as a group? You have to consider the bigger picture. So just being able to have that ownership of what we got to play in the concert was really, really different and exciting and motivating.
And I'd have to piggyback on that. I think that's exactly the way I feel, or felt at the time, and still feel. You really feel like part of group. And to be honest, it was, obviously I'm someone who ended up becoming a band teacher, but it was a really fun assignment, I thought. Comparing it to like, any other assignment you might be getting in high school, you sit and you just listen to all these pieces and you say, oh, I think that has some really cool brass stuff. As a trumpet player, of course, I was always listening to that. And then listening to another and saying, oh, well, that contrasts, it's has all these different elements that we're listening to. So I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and how many assignments do you remember from high school? I only remember a handful. So it's 10 years ago for me anyway. It's just thinking about that, and just it gives you a good feeling, because it's going beyond just, okay, we're going to play this song for the concert. It's not just I play this instrument, where it was cultivating musicianship in everyone and making everybody use that higher level thinking. I know it's a buzzword, but it really applies.
Cool. Some additional things that went on with that, and I'll relate this to Andy's class specifically. My motivation was to get them to listen to great music and then have them choose some pieces that we would work on. And I'll admit this in front of them now, but at the time, they literally shocked me in terms of their choice, because I was assuming that they were going to choose the shortest and easiest pieces. So when the voting came in and it was kind of unanimous that they picked the two hardest works on the plate there, it kind of woke me up. It made me realize that if you set the bar high, students will all rise to the occasion. You can go too far, obviously, outside of ability levels. But what my students showed me was they were willing to put in the effort to meet the high level of performance skill that was needed for the two pieces they chose. And I'll just share with the audience the two pieces. One of them was Tempered Steel, which was about a steel manufacturing town. I believe it was about Pittsburgh. And as you can tell, very heroic themes. And, if you know the piece, a lot of double tonguing in the brass, things that we hadn't really covered yet, but we worked on. And then the other one was Watchmen Tell Us of the Night, which is an extremely emotional piece about child abuse. And we really, that performance that we did that night is burned in my brain. And it was a pivotal moment for teaching, because now every class of musicians after that, we're trying to reach that mark, and if not, surpass it. And that energy and that enthusiasm for the music just continued. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go and demonstrate now inside of new SmartMusic how this would work. Okay, so we're going to take an assignment here and create an assignment that's just really going to be a part of a unit. And the whole focus on this is having students work on 4 different pieces. And at the end, they're going to choose the one particular piece they work on. So we have this social studies thing going on in our school where they're studying the Blue Ridge Mountains, or it could be we even live in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we're going to take 4 works that have Blue Ridge themes in them, and we're going to have the students perform these, doing a predefined assignment in each one, and adding to that a rubric that focuses on the comments they make about the pieces. Therefore, eliciting some higher function thinking and focusing on them listening to an entire work to kind of build their sound repertoire. So the final selection I'm looking for, I'll type it in the search, is going to be Blue Ridge Impressions. Okay, so right away we have the piece, and I'm going to save some time and just click right on Assign. Immediately, I'm going to select one of the predefined assignments. You'll see that all the parameters are set up over here for each and every one of our instruments in the group. And I've also taken the time to write out an instruction that would be consistent with all 4 of the pieces we're going to do. I've copied it. Now I'm going to save some time by pasting it, not have to do the typing again. So you will be listening to the entire work, then do the assignment. Hand it in at any tempo you can perform with best accuracy. Your comments in the box are 50% of your grade. Make sure you are evaluating this piece as to its depiction of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Once you have done all 4 pieces, indicate in the last assignment you do which one you think we should perform. You have an opportunity to choose what you play in the next concert, so listen carefully to all 4 works. Great instructions. We're going to go on. And I am going to edit the parameters of this assignment. I'm going to allow my students to choose any tempo because I did give them the instruction that I want them to hand it in at a tempo that the performance is going to be accurate. So I now click on the blue arrow to move to the next screen, and here's where I'm going to make that selection. I'm going to change the tempo from exactly to any. Click the blue arrow, and now I have to add my criterion. Now I could do red note, green note on this assignment, but I really don't want the students too concerned with it. What I'm focusing on is their overall general musicianship on the performance. I'll add that to the rubric. It's a multi-level rubric I've already created. And then I've already created one for student repertoire reflection. And that indicates in there, what kind of comments I'm looking for, what kind of dialogue. So we're going to give the musicianship part 50%. And since I do want them to focus on listening and evaluating the 4 pieces in regards to performance, I'm putting a pretty strong point emphasis on that student repertoire reflection. And again, that's going to be done in the comment box. Now, I'm not going to assign it now. I'm going to say not now, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all 4 of these pieces and send them out as a unit. So let's see how we do that right now. So I'm going to go over to Dashboard, click on Units, and we're going to create a new unit. So we click on the blue plus sign, and this unit is going to be Blue Ridge Concert Selections. I'm going to save that unit, and now what I need to do is add content into that unit for their playback and assignment purposes. So here they are down here. So I'm going to click on Blue Ridge Mountain, Blue Ridge Overture, Blue Ridge Reel, and Blue Ridge Rhapsody. So they are now all 4 in one unit. I'm going to be able to assign it, send it out to my class. Okay, and it's going to be done in the first quarter. We're going to give, since it's 4 pieces, I'm going to give them quite a bit of time. So we're going to make it so that it's due a few weeks later. And now we're able to get this entire 4 pieces out at one time. And it's a unit we're focusing on for music for the Blue Ridge Mountains. So that was a quick demo of how that could work. And that's just one of many. I'm sure that there are many of you out there that have ideas similar and possibly even better than what I came up with there. So what I'm going to say at this moment is, at the end of our presentation today, you will see my email address. And if you do have any other ideas or questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and let's continue the discussion of today's webinar. So as we're going on now, what I'd like to talk about is method books. And what I loved about SmartMusic was there's not just one. There's, at this moment, I believe there's 136 different ones. So to me, the art of using SmartMusic now with this particular set of literature is to not get married to one method book, but to be willing to look across the spectrum of everything that's in there. So here's some ideas about using SmartMusic with an artful twist. So method books, scavenger hunts. So if you're teaching a beginning group and you're working on hot cross buns, send them out and have them look for hot cross buns in the other method books. Have them practice with it. Maybe in the comments box, have them describe the differences in the accompaniment for each. Again, you're getting them to look beyond, or listen beyond, I should say, what they're practicing. And you're also practicing a concept I learned at NYU from Jerome Bruner's book, which was Cyclical Education. And you're presenting similar concepts, but each time at a higher level of achievement, so that you're building upon that foundational skill but improving it and getting better and better at it. Make sure they tell you which book each one comes from, because that's just an insurance for figuring out, where they found their hot cross buns from. And then the fun part is if they choose the one they like the best, then send it out as an assignment for the whole ensemble. There's so many different things that could be done here with scavenger hunts. That's just rich as far as I'm concerned in terms of availability. The other thing I'll share on that is you can do sometimes some of the advanced method books. There's material in there that you can do with beginners, especially advanced beginners. And one of them I did do was utilize the chorale and intonation exercises inside of Foundations for Superior Performance. I've used that with beginning students. Once they've got foundational skills and have good tone and can perform, long tones, we found that going really slow with some of those beginning exercises were really great for ear training. So the other thing I would do with students is, those speed games. We would take that hot cross buns and we really got it down. It's sounding good. Okay, let's see how good we can do it at a faster tempo and still play with a good, tone, good articulations, good intonation. In the directions for your assignments, just indicate to them that that's going to be a priority. Just because you slammed it through fast, that's not going to be what gets you a good grade. It's still got to sound great. So again, you're getting them to record, go back, listen, and you're initiating deliberate practice. So rhythmic practice, there's all kinds of opportunities here as well. Okay, I actually would do this quite often with the wind ensemble. I would take one of the lines from the piece from one of the instruments that we might be struggling with a rhythm, put the rhythm up, have the students clap it, have the students take a breath, and then try to just tongue that rhythm for everybody in the room, and then have them go through and maybe on a single pitch, everybody plays the rhythm. So that's just a very simple thing, that you can do. And then you can create files, which is what I'm going to show in this next video, which is where I really think you're getting into using the art of it. The beauty of SmartMusic is it does have a compose feature in it now. And that compose feature allows you to create notation inside of SmartMusic and then send it out to your students. You also, on that same page, can import an XML file and use that and send that out to your students as well. The other idea that I came up with just recently, and as a result of a new tool we have in SmartMusic, and that's the sight reading generator. So here's an idea. You've got that difficult rhythm that you're talking about in front of your ensemble. It's projected up on the screen. And what you tell the students are, we're going to deconstruct that difficult rhythm, bring up the sight reading generator, and inside that sight reading generator are parameters, such as your key signatures, such as the rhythm values, whether it's eighths, dotted, sixteenths, whatever there are in terms of your piece. And then the students start to call out the parameters that are inside of that specific rhythm. Once that's been achieved, you have all the parameters for that challenging rhythm. You send that out as a sight reading assignment for your students to work on. And the beauty is sight reading generator generates something different for everybody with that same skill set or technicals of that rhythm that you're looking to work on. So I think that's a really valuable tool, as we go forward. But here's how one of my colleagues chose to specifically work on some challenging rhythms in Song of the Blacksmith. So let's check this out.
In this video, I'd like to demonstrate importing a MIDI file or music XML file into new SmartMusic. My example here is Song of the Blacksmith Rhythm Practice. I have two staves which have featured different sections of this piece and how they fit together. My goal in new SmartMusic is to be able to turn off and on either part and have the students practice. Starting out, I will export Music XML. Next, I go to New SmartMusic and open up Compose. I can select from three options: Quick Creation, Create from Template, Import Music XML, or MIDI. The parts show up, but I need to check that they are correct. And each staff that I'm checking will highlight so I can review it. If I do want to edit, I can review the family of instruments, the instrument itself, the staff name, and save all my parts. My score is now ready. I have different options under the File menu. When I go to File and click, create a new score, save to your SmartMusic account, save to Music XML, assign right away, or open directly in SmartMusic. I'm going to save this to my account so I can use it in a number of ways. When I save this, I have the option to manage my account. Sound of the Blacksmith is the last thing I've added here. I can edit, open, assign, or delete. I can also bundle this into different selections and save it for using later. Right now, I'll just take Sound of the Blacksmith, assign, send as a custom assignment, and go through the rest of the process and send it out to all of my students. That's importing a music XML file.
So that was a really great example of how that music XML file could work. The thing to keep in mind is you could have also now composed that exercise inside of SmartMusic in our Compose feature. The other thing to share with you in regards to that is, we're demonstrating it in terms of rhythmic work, but it could be for anything. So, your superintendent says, hey, I need a string quartet for the induction for the Honor Society next Thursday night. Can you guys play some song, or, maybe you want to work on a pop tune for your kids. You're able to do and create your own material to fit your students' needs. Next part of using SmartMusic, especially for us instrumentalists, is the fact of using your voice. The other thing I liked, again, was I was able to go in and utilize all of the material that's in there. And I would actually have my wind ensemble students do some of these vocal exercises that are present in some of the vocal method books. And in particular for my jazz students, what I've been doing or had been doing was have them submit assignments vocalizing the part instead of just playing it. Great example is if there's a sax solo or there's an ensemble section where the whole band's playing. So you get everybody to practice singing it with the right jazz syllables. They submit their vocals. You comment. You could have them redo if you think you need to. But once you feel like the ensemble is definitely vocalizing the same way, then you can send it back out and say, hey, that's great. Now you guys put it on your instruments, play it for me. Or you take it into the rehearsal space and you do the same thing. The beauty of SmartMusic, in my estimation, is it takes away fear. If you ask a student to do that in front of his other students in a rehearsal, right away they're gonna make fun of me, or they're gonna think I'm weird or something, and they're gonna kind of clam up and not really give it their all. By having them work on it at home and the ability to do multiple takes without judgment, really is a paradigm shift as far as I'm concerned. So, using your voice to get your assignments in and have your students get over the fear of singing is a value, definitely, for us instrumentalists. And back to the intonation training exercises. I would have my students submit vocalizing their parts. I found that if they were a little bit intimidated about singing, humming was a great way to just get over that. They would hum their part, send it to me, and we could, evaluate, together, were you in tune? Were you able to follow even the contour of the melody? Just to start with that. Then in all of the exercises that are in there, anything can be turned into some kind of a singing exercise, whether it's a scale, intervals, all kinds of lines out of method books. But I always would encourage that you make it in multiple levels. Maybe, the first one goes out and they have to hum it. The second one comes back, they vocalize it, and you hear them articulate as they're vocalizing. And then the third one, you have them play it on their instrument. So this is what I would do with intonation training in Foundations to Superior Performance. Here's something I've done with my high school wind ensemble in the past that's yielded really wonderful results. Utilizing the choral and intonation studies in Foundations for Superior Performance. I already searched it. We're going to open it up and work on tuning intervals in concert B flat. So once the sound file opens, the first thing I always did with my students was slow it down. I found that a quarter note equals 40 was a really good tempo for digesting, learning, and having time to really hear your intonation. The next instruction for my students would be that they would do the exercise humming and put one finger in their ear. I found that the bone conduction and vibrations in the head all seem to get the intonation solidified sooner, faster. And then once they were comfortable doing it and they handed that in and we were getting into the ballpark, then we would actually send the assignment out again and have them play it on their instrument. So here's what it would sound like. Okay, because I'm not articulating any kind of an attack, it is perceiving that I'm late on some of those notes, and I don't care about that. I also instructed my students not to worry about it. We were going to listen to the pitch. And this is what you would get back in that assignment. So we would be able to have dialogue back and forth regarding whether or not they were matching the pitch. The other thing that I would instruct the students, if they're having trouble with a pitch or an interval, don't be shy about clicking on the note and fortifying that pitch in your ear, and then go back and work on it again. These exercises I found to be very valuable. I've used them with beginners, believe it or not, all the way through high school. And I'm sure there's other examples in method books in SmartMusic, or you can even write your own and upload them to work on intonation training with our students. Okay, another music educator that is on our blog, Dan, to me, models exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the art of using SmartMusic. You know, he was all about having his students listen to the accompaniments. There's so much to be learned just in that exercise alone. And then he had them combine doing air and fingerings to get breath support and phrasing as part of their dialogue, and to foster the deliberate practice to achieve those things. And then he would have them play along. Okay, so some additional ideas. And Riana, if you've got anything, feel free to jump in at any time. So inside of SmartMusic, there's a whole bunch of new things. There's all the Canadian brass quintets. There's Dallas brass. There's a whole bunch of duet series. So here's an opportunity to get your chamber ensemble started. One of the ways that students quickly develop technique, as we all know, is by playing chamber music where they're responsible for one on a part. If you can't find what you're looking for, use compose or finale and write your arrangement and get those chamber ensemble things going. Set up sight reading games right after the big concert. Start with them being super easy at first, so that when they're doing it, it's fun and they're achieving, and they're just like, kind of like knocking them out of the park real quick. And then, let them get more difficult, and you could have a prize for the person who sight reads the best at the highest level. Another thing is inside of SmartMusic, is to share with your students works that are similar to the ones you're performing. Maybe it's even a different arrangement of the same piece, so that they can again be doing those higher level thinking skills, making comparisons, and judgments as to how style and all those things work. But creating assignments that focus on one detail, that's again the art of directing your students to achieve that one goal, and to break something that's complex into simpler skills. And then the other thing that's in SmartMusic, and I might take a second here and we'll take a quick look at it. SmartMusic has built into it a reward system. It's badges, and you can set those badges up to mean anything you want and reward your students for things like amount of minutes practice per week, per day, amount of exploration beyond the assignment, encouraging them to go someplace beyond what you're doing. And then as part of the badges, there's also practice analytics. This will make you aware of how your students are working outside the classroom. You'll get detailed information as to how much time is being spent on the assignment you gave them, and information spent on material they're looking at outside of your assignment. So you start to get that information. It helps you build the culture of practice within your ensembles. And it gives you an idea too in terms of your students' likes and dislikes. What's really getting their attention. In addition, don't be afraid to visit our blog. There's a lot of great educators who have given us freely of their time and shared things that they are doing in the classroom. And they're of high value for sure. So at this time, let me see if I can do this quickly. Okay, new share. So I'm going live now to SmartMusic, and this is something else I'd like to bring up. As a teacher, when I was working at Bayshore, if the internet went down, I had to have my plan B and C because I couldn't use my SmartMusic. But with new SmartMusic, if you know in the morning that you're going to be working on analytics, Chester, Home, whatever it is, materials that you need for the day, if you load them up, you're good for the whole day. And you can still be working if you have no internet going at your school. Or let's say you go into a practice room where there is no access. As long as you've got it loaded on your laptop, you're going to be able to use it for the day and play. So to me, I love that. So notice here, I'm quickly changing between the tabs. There's one of the things where I think it's the art of using SmartMusic. But here's analysis. And what you're seeing here is this is just one single student. I obviously don't have a class, but let's pretend there was a class of students here. We'd have lines for every student. But this one particular student spent roughly, looks like 44 minutes exploring other material. On my assignment, he spent 4 minutes. Now, if he achieved his goal on SmartMusic in 4 minutes, wonderful. If not, maybe I need to, in my comments back to him, say, hey, I noticed you only spent 4 minutes on that assignment I gave you, and you only got 80%. Maybe reduce the amount of time you're exploring other things, and spend a little more time here. Or I could see what kind of material he's looking at, and start to give him assignments of like material, so he knows what he's looking for. Yeah. So here's where that all resides. Here's practice analytics. All right, and you would set up your badges in your administrative classroom area, class tools. Okay, so that's where you would find all that material. Also, I do want to point out the sight reading generator. If you were looking to get to it, here's where it is in the dashboard. All right. So at this time, Riana, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it's just important that we find different ways to provide more for our students other than just those red and green notes, just the band music, preparing for the concert. So it's even though at first it's kind of taxing to think on a higher level, and I remember as a student, at first I might have groaned at these assignments and been like, I don't want to do this. I just want to get the red and green notes. But of course now I see the value in it, and like we said before, just having that assignment of being able to choose our repertoire, it was a really memorable experience. And even so, Ted and I, we were talking the other night, and I mentioned that that's exactly what I'm going to be doing with my group. I'm not involved in the new SmartMusic as much, but it's definitely something I'm going to be exploring. But just being able to have that option to choose the repertoire, even like I work with elementary school students, and I've told them that that's what we're going to be doing, and they're really excited about it. So it's just having access to this technology, this tool. It really helps to kind of show the kids that it's more than just playing the right notes and the rhythms, and it's just a way to help them to get to that point where they can say, you know what, I really am a musician, even at a young age.
That's really good to hear. One of the things that I wanted to just touch upon, I know the title of this is Why My Students Love SmartMusic, which is a little bit funny because, and the students were the first ones to admit this, they would all say that sometimes they didn't enjoy doing the work, but they did realize that the group sounded the way it does because they did. So, they were willing to go through some of the challenges that we went through because they did realize. And just like, I think most students in America, if you gave them a choice between doing an assignment and not, they might choose not. So, but it's the way the assignments get structured and flow to make it so that it is a little bit enticing, and it draws you in and pulls you into the art of making music, and not just, like you said, notes and rhythms. Giovanna, did you get any questions?
Well, I've been asking, and I think people have been a little bit shy, so I want to encourage everyone that is here listening to this webinar. If you have any questions, any comments of your own, any ideas, any insights from your own students and why they may love SmartMusic, feel free to share them via the chat so that we can ask Ted and Riana. We'll give a couple minutes to do that. And if you guys are feeling like you don't have any questions, then we can probably just give our closing remarks.
If there's anyone, too, that has a specific thing in SmartMusic that they'd like to see, we do have a few minutes, so we could jump into SmartMusic Live and do a quick demo of something if anybody has interest in that.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm going to take over the sharing controls here for a second to let everybody know that this session is being recorded, and we will be sending an email thanking you for your attendance today, which will include a link to the recording. And also, we have done a large series of webinars throughout this fall and the spring and last year, and all of those are archived on the YouTube SmartMusic channel. So if you visit that channel, you're going to be able to take a look at the previous webinar recordings if you're interested. There's a variety of topics in there. Many wonderful music educators talking about merely educational topics. And then there are some webinars that are SmartMusic specific, but you are probably going to find some very valuable information in there. And so with that, it doesn't look like there are any questions. So we want to thank you very much for your time today. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Riana. Ted, please thank Andrew again on our behalf. I know he had to leave because he had a class to attend. But it was delightful having you today, and we'll see you guys next time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Giovanna.
Thank you.
Thanks, Riana.